SCP-1308, Object Class Euclid. SCP-1308 refers to several instances of an organism resembling an ambulatory sheet of human skin of CCA 1 by 3 meters size, capable of flotation through currently unknown means. The upper surface of SCP-1308 specimens resembles human skin, including features such as body hair, birthmarks, and occasional patches of keratin. The lower surface is smooth and contains a number of modified sweat glands, capable of excretion of SCP-1308-1, a translucent yellow liquid of composition resembling blood plasma. Below the skin, SCP-1308 contains 2 layers of perpendicularly oriented muscle fibers, an adipose layer, and occasional segments of reinforcing cartilage. The tissues of SCP-1308 contain a large number of capillaries leading from the surfaces, apparently responsible for gas exchange towards the central mass. The blood circulation is ensured by means of a pattern of involuntary muscle contractions. Large-scale muscular contractions are used as a means of propulsion, and the musculature of SCP-1308 has been shown capable of exerting forces upwards of 600 newtons. SCP-1308 has a decentralized nervous system composed of a grid of ganglia, CCA 55 mm diameter, regularly located with a density of CCA 25 per square meters, connected by axon strands. DNA testing on cells harvested from SCP-1308 instances confirms them to be human in origin. SCP-1308 appears to be sentient and seems to prefer secluded areas, such as abandoned buildings, the vicinity of waste disposal facilities, or maintenance facilities. However, a single specimen. When inactive, SCP-1308 will usually adhere to a wall or another structure, seemingly preferring heights of around 2.5 meters and above. Through specific patterns of muscular contractions combined with the folding of its body, SCP-1308 is capable of emitting melodic sounds, as well as replicating sounds from the environment, including human speech, with varying intensity. This property plays a role in luring potential victims. However, SCP-1308 specimens tend to vocalize at apparently random times, even during or after feeding. If a human being approaches an SCP-1308 instance, it will attempt to envelop and restrain them, and force a significant part of its surface under their clothing, such that it is in contact with bare skin. Subsequently, the glands on the surface of SCP-1308 will excrete -1. -1 rapidly penetrates human skin, and within 3 minutes of application causes permanent dissociation of intercellular bonds in animal tissues, up to a depth of CCA 1 mm. Once this has taken place, SCP-1308 will proceed to slowly absorb the tissue and reintegrate it into its body mass through unknown means, a process which has been observed to take between 3 to 7 hours. Once the absorption is complete, SCP-1308 will release its victim and float away. Archival records and testing have shown encounters with SCP-1308 to have a survival rate of roughly 80%, out of which most deaths were caused by secondary infections following large-scale skin loss, suffocation, or circulatory failure due to constriction or shock. Thorough cleaning of the wounds using physiologic solution followed by prophylactic levomycetin treatment have been shown to aid recovery. If large-scale areas are affected, skin grafting is recommended. SCP-1308 instances show intense reluctance of coming into contact with metal tin and certain tin compounds. The cause seems related to -1 being an effective catalyst in the process of tin oxidation. Recovery log. SCP-1308 first came to the attention of the Foundation in Hungary on 1995, following the hospitalization of János, a maintenance employee at the heat plant. Following his interview by a hospital psychiatrist and the unusual nature of his injuries, a Foundation liaison interviewed him posing as a Ministry of Agriculture Special Committee worker. A plan of approach was drafted based on his testimony, and an instance of SCP-1308 was successfully captured in the maintenance tunnels. JB was treated with amnestics, and the hospital records were altered to record the injury as self-inflicted following a psychotic episode. To date, 5 more instances have been contained. Footnotes 1. The size of the captured specimens varies within 15% of a set limit, with the exception of one instance which is only 1.8 by 0.9 meters in size. Thickness has been shown to vary throughout each specimen between 2 to 50 millimeters, depending on presence of additional organs or subcutaneous fat deposits. 2. Examination has shown the presence of several cavities filled with hydrogen gas, roughly 20 by 50 by 5 millimeters in size, at roughly 200 millimeters spacing in the captive specimens. However, the volume of the hydrogen gas present is insufficient to explain the low density of SCP-1308, and current hypotheses consider these to be vibration-sensing organs. 3. It is suspected the shaped keratinous platelets on the surface play a significant role in such emissions by acting as vibration nodes. 4. The lower surface of SCP-1308 has been shown to be resistant to this effect, while the upper is not. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1308 is to be held in a modified standard enclosure on Bioresearch Site 21, such that the door mechanism, the main ventilation mechanism, and any apertures wider than 25 millimeters in 2 perpendicular directions are to be covered with a steel mesh coated with a tin layer at least 0.08 millimeters thick. Any personnel entering the enclosure are to wear Level B hazardous materials protective equipment, modified by attaching strips of tinfoil, no smaller than 100 by 25 millimeters to the surface, no further than 50 millimeters apart. To ensure personal safety in the case of damage to the suit, a layer of tin foil protecting the head and neck is to be worn under specified protective clothing while inside the enclosure, or during times of significant risk of an SCP-1308 containment breach. Note: aluminum foil is not an acceptable substitute for tin in this case. Researcher Eisenberg. All personnel entering the enclosure are to be equipped with a standard-issue electroshock weapon. Personnel are to be reminded that due to lack of discernible vital organs, gunfire is of limited effectiveness against instances of SCP-1308. For longer incapacitation for capture or research, portable pressurized sprayer units with chloroform solution are to be used. These are to be issued to any Level 1 personnel with SCP-1308 clearance that have undergone appropriate training. The enclosure of SCP-1308 is to be kept at a temperature of 28 degrees Celsius and a relative humidity of 47%. Once per 10 days, 1 live pig of mass CCA 50 kilograms per specimen is to be introduced into SCP-1308's enclosure. 2 days after each feeding, the cell is to be cleaned of residue. No more than 3 instances of SCP-1308 are to be stored in a single enclosure. Newly captured SCP-1308 specimens are to be examined for deviations in body makeup and classified as per document 1308-C. Implanted with a positioning and identification chip and internated in an enclosure as appropriate.